G'day guys, Mitch here, welcome to MeesaMods. In this episode we're back on the Corolla, getting handsy in the rear end, panel beating it and sanding it back. The plan for today was simple: remove the tail light and massage as much of the cottage cheese out of the rear quarter panel as I possibly could, doing my best to fix any other damage in the rear end that I could find along the way. Alright guys, sort of a little quick check-in here. It's actually going better than I was expecting. Given that I haven't exactly got the proper tools, pretty much doing this with two hammers. Just a nice little one. You don't actually have to hit that hard to panel beat stuff. I watched a few videos the other night on sort of basic things for it, and I may have it wrong, so if you guys have better ways of doing it, chuck it in the comments, let me know. But yeah, the big hammer's in the background just for a bit of support, just to try and keep everything flat and give it something to sort of dissipate the energy into, so we're not pushing stuff back in. The idea being it kind of flattens it out. I've been sanding it just to try and look for high spots a little bit. As I said, I'm never ever going to get this perfect because it is rippled, but I mean, compared to what it was before I started like 2 days ago, like when I had a quick look the other night after the last episode I filmed on this car, it was pretty rough. It resembled cottage cheese, to be honest, and it was pretty bad. I think with a little bit of primer and some filler over the top of that and give it a nice light sand just to smooth it all out, I think it'll come out well. I don't know if you can see it just yet. Hang on, we'll zoom down a bit here. This little corner here actually came out a lot better than I was expecting. It was pushed in, so it was actually like punched in like a crater. I've sort of been punching it out again. It's not perfect, and I honestly don't think I'll be ever able to get it perfect just because of the way it's hit. It looks like there's actually gouges in the steel, which again, there's not much I can do about that. I can fill it with bog or try and weld it and grind it back, but I mean, I'll just fill it and it'll be fine, paint over it. It should look pretty decent. The paint on this quarter is pretty shagged, hence I started sanding a little bit more of it. I'm not going to go back to bare metal. I am going to primer the whole lot. I'm just going to get whatever's on here. If it looks like it's flaking, I'm going to take it off and go back and we'll primer it and fill it and sand it and paint it. That's the plan. See how we go. I was honestly surprised with the end result. I managed to smooth out the majority of the bumps and ripples, which for a novice with zero experience in this, I was pretty happy with that. Once I was relatively happy with how the panel looked, I gave the whole panel a thick coat of spray putty. Once I had sprayed that panel, I decided to move around to the back of the car and see what we could get up to there. It was at this point that my adventures with the wire wheel on the grinder began. I was mostly looking for rust and high spots, as there was a little bit of bog in the back of this car, and I just wanted to see how bad it actually was. Thankfully, we didn't find too much. Once I had cleared out all the rust, I proceeded to give everything a thick coat of spray putty to seal it and prepare it for sanding. It was at this time that I realised that the spray putty in some parts was starting to react with the paint that was on the car and was starting to crumble. Thankfully, there were only two small patches where this happened, which I allowed them to dry, sanded them down, and gave them a fresh coat. Everything else turned out pretty well. As the back of the car was now covered in wet spray putty, I decided to move on to the front quarter panel. I'm giving this panel a good sand down as the paint was cracked and had lots of pitting. As a little bit of time had passed while I was doing this, the majority of the putty on the rear quarter had dried, so I thought it would be safe to sand. This was a mistake. Some of the thicker parts were still wet and kind of cloggy, and ended up pulling most of it off. I had to wait for it to dry, plot it all back down and recoat it. Once I'd fixed that little mistake, I spent the rest of the night starting to sand the doors. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is day 2 into the rear quarter panel. We've given a little bit of time for the filler and the putty and stuff to dry. Off camera I did give it a quick sand just to have a look to see how we were going. It's not looking too bad. I'll give you guys a close-up in a second. And yeah, we'll progress from there. Today will be more sanding, a little bit more prep work. I haven't got any more filler left to go yet, so, well, that I can spray anyway, so it'll just be sanding mostly for this round. Let's see how we go. Alrighty guys, as you can see, a lot of the pitting and like the weird sort of pimply sort of lumps and bumps that were there are all gone now. They're all smoothed out. I've still got to take a little bit off. It's a little bit high, just in the center here, and smooth a few more of the little bumps and stuff out. Alright guys, I'm pretty happy with where that quarter's at for the moment. Again, I haven't got any more filler with me, so I can't do any more on that part for now. I think in the meantime we're going to get started. We're going to start sanding the boot lid down. Alright guys, we got the boot lid off. I have dropped one bolt in the back there, which I'll have to go and find and dig out. And then I think I'm going to hit the boot lid with the wire wheel. I'm going to take it all the way back. I've got primer sitting there, so I can pretty much, the moment I get it done, I can prime it straight away so it's covered. Hopefully stop any other rust happening. So I think that's going to be our plan. I was going to hit this with the wire wheel, but I think I might go and get some actual, like a proper paint wheel for the grinder. It's just a little bit safer. Less sharp things to stick into your feet when you're done. So I'm going to quickly race to the shop and I'll see you guys again shortly. Well, that was an epic fail. We've got daylight savings here now, so it's 5:30 in the afternoon and the shop's shut. So I got to the end of the road and had to turn around and come back. So that's going to have to wait till tomorrow. I might hit it with the wire wheel anyway, just to get a start on it. Can't believe that. Using a wire wheel can be a little bit sketchy sometimes, so I highly recommend using personal protective gear. As a minimum, I recommend using eye protection and hearing protection, as the wire wheels can shoot the little wires out at quite a high speed. I decided to go one step further and wear a respirator, as there was quite a lot of dust involved. This is surprisingly hard work. Like, my forearms are on fire after this. Plus, the garage is now covered in like yellow and white dust, which I was kind of expecting, but not the amount that there is. It's intense. It's also really slow progress, which I guess it is what it is. I'm not exactly using the right tool for the job for this, so I shouldn't be too surprised. Maybe a third of the way through this tailgate, like the boot lid. Oh. So yeah, that's a little progress update. And yeah, we'll go from here. Catch you guys in a bit. That's as far as we're getting with the wire wheel. She is completely disintegrated and most of it is stuck into my legs. I'll try and get a photo for you. I don't think the GoPro picks it up very well, but I'll try and get a photo and I'll insert it now. And yeah, hopefully there's plenty of blood coming out of my legs from where it's like a million little pinpricks. Alrighty guys, that's going to wrap us up for today. We've run out of stuff to keep going. I need to buy a new wire wheel, although I probably won't get a wire wheel. I'll get a one of the paint remover wheels. Save the 400 injections I've just had of brass. Yeah, we made pretty decent progress. I'm pretty happy with how that rear quarter's come out. It was a lot better than I was expecting. The boot, we found a big chunk of bog in the middle, so we might panel beat that out so it sits flush and nice. Other than that, we're about halfway through the paint removal on that. Once I finish the boot lid, we'll get all the paint stuff out and we'll primer the boot lid and we'll primer the rear quarter as well, just so it looks nice and we can start sanding it and trying to get it to look as perfect as we can. That'll be the next challenge, because I've never really done that before either, so we're winging it. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Poor GoPro. She's seen some things today.